Geography, climate, and environment. The land area of the contiguous United States is 2,959,064 square miles, 7,663,940.6 square kilometers. Alaska, separated from the contiguous United States by Canada, is the largest state at 663,268 square miles, 1,717,856.2 square kilometers. Hawaii, occupying an archipelago in the Central Pacific, southwest of North America, is 10,931 square miles, 28,311 square kilometers, in area. The populated territories of Puerto Rico, American Samoa, Guam, Northern Mariana Islands, and U.S. Virgin Islands together cover 9,185 square miles, 23,789 square kilometers. Measured by only land area, the United States is third in size behind Russia and China, just ahead of Canada. The United States is the world's third or fourth largest nation by total area, land and water, ranking behind Russia and Canada and just above or below China. The ranking varies depending on how two territories disputed by China and India are counted and how the total size of the United States is measured. Calculations range from 3,676,486 square miles, 9,522,055.0 km to 3,717,813 square miles, 9,629,091.5 square kilometers, to 3,796,742 square miles, 9,833,516.6 square kilometers. The coastal plain of the Atlantic seaboard gives way further inland to deciduous forests and the rolling hills of the Piedmont. The Appalachian Mountains divide the eastern seaboard from the Great Lakes and the grasslands of the Midwest. The Mississippi-Missouri River, the world's fourth longest river system, runs mainly north-south through the heart of the country. The flat, fertile prairie of the Great Plains stretches to the west, interrupted by a highland region in the southeast. The Rocky Mountains, at the western edge of the Great Plains, extend north to south across the country, reaching altitudes higher than 14,000 feet, 4,300 m, in Colorado. Farther west are the Rocky Great Basin and deserts such as the Chihuahua and Mojave. The Sierra Nevada and Cascade Mountain ranges run close to the Pacific coast, both ranges reaching altitudes higher than 14,000 feet, 4,300 m. The lowest and highest points in the contiguous United States are in the state of California, and only about 84 miles, 135 kilometers, apart. At an elevation of 20,310 feet, 6,190.5 m, Alaska's Denali, Mount McKinley, is the highest peak in the country and North America. Active volcanoes are common throughout Alaska's Alexander and Aleutian Islands, and Hawaii consists of volcanic islands. The supervolcano underlying Yellowstone National Park in the Rockies is the continent's largest volcanic feature. The United States has the most ecoregions out of any country in the world. The United States, with its large size and geographic variety, includes most climate types. To the east of the 100th meridian, the climate ranges from humid continental in the north to humid subtropical in the south. The Great Plains west of the 100th meridian are semi-arid. Much of the western mountains have an alpine climate. The climate is arid in the Great Basin, desert in the southwest, Mediterranean in coastal California, and oceanic in coastal Oregon and Washington and southern Alaska. Most of Alaska is subarctic or polar. Hawaii and the southern tip of Florida are tropical, as are the populated territories in the Caribbean and the Pacific. Extreme weather is not uncommon. The states bordering the Gulf of Mexico are prone to hurricanes, and most of the world's tornadoes occur within the country, mainly in Tornado Alley areas in the Midwest and South. Wildlife. The U.S. ecology is megadiverse. About 17,000 species of vascular plants occur in the contiguous United States and Alaska, and over 1,800 species of flowering plants are found in Hawaii, few of which occur on the mainland. The United States is home to 428 mammal species, 784 bird species, 311 reptile species, and 295 amphibian species. About 91,000 insect species have been described. The bald eagle is both the national bird and national animal of the United States, and is an enduring symbol of the country itself. There are 59 national parks and hundreds of other federally managed parks, forests, and wilderness areas. Altogether, the government owns about 28% of the country's land area. Most of this is protected, though some is leased for oil and gas drilling, mining, logging, or cattle ranching. About 86% is used for military purposes. Environmental issues have been on the national agenda since 1970. Environmental controversies include debates on oil and nuclear energy, dealing with air and water pollution, the economic costs of protecting wildlife, logging and deforestation, and international responses to global warming. Many federal and state agencies are involved. The most prominent is the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, created by presidential order in 1970. The idea of wilderness has shaped the management of public lands since 1964, with the Wilderness Act. The Endangered Species Act of 1973 is intended to protect threatened and endangered species and their habitats, which are monitored by the United States Fish and Wildlife Service. Demographics. Population. The U.S. Census Bureau estimated the country's population to be 323,425,550 as of the 25th of April, 2016, and to be adding one person, net gain, every 13 seconds, or about 6,646 people per day. The U.S. population almost quadrupled during the 20th century, from about 76 million in 1900. The third most populous nation in the world, after China and India, the United States is the only major industrialized nation in which large population increases are projected. In the 1800s the average woman had 7.04 children, by the 1900s this number had decreased to 3.56. Since the early 1970s the birth rate has been below the replacement rate of 2.1 with 1.86 children per woman in 2014. Foreign-born immigration has caused the U.S. population to continue its rapid increase, with the foreign-born population doubling from almost 20 million in 1990 to over 40 million in 2010, representing one-third of the population increase. The foreign-born population reached 45 million in 2015. The United States has a birth rate of 13 per 1,000, which is 5 births below the world average. Its population growth rate is positive at 0.7%, higher than that of many developed nations. In fiscal year 2015, over 1 million immigrants, most of whom entered through family reunification, were granted legal residence. Mexico has been the leading source of new residents since the 1965 Immigration Act. China, India, and the Philippines have been in the top 4 sending countries every year since the 1990s. As of 2012, approximately 11.4 million residents are illegal immigrants. As of 2015, 47% of all immigrants are Hispanic, 26% are Asian, 18% are white and 8% are black. The percentage of immigrants who are Asian is increasing while the percentage who are Hispanic is decreasing. Minorities, as defined by the Census Bureau as all those beside non-Hispanic, non-multiracial whites, constituted 37.2% of the population in 2012 and over 50% of children under age 1, and are projected to constitute the majority by 2044. According to a survey conducted by the Williams Institute, 9 million Americans, or roughly 3.4% of the adult population, identify themselves as homosexual, bisexual, or transgender. A 2016 Gallup poll also concluded that 4.1% of adult Americans identified as LGBT. The highest percentage came from the District of Columbia, 10%, while the lowest state was North Dakota at 1.7%. In a 2013 survey, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention found that 96.6% of Americans identify as straight, while 1.6% identify as gay or lesbian, and 0.7% identify as being bisexual. In 2010, the U.S. population included an estimated 5.2 million people with some American Indian or Alaska Native ancestry, 2.9 million exclusively of such ancestry, and 1.2 million with some Native Hawaiian or Pacific Island ancestry, 0.5 million exclusively. The census counted more than 19 million people of some other race who were unable to identify with any of its 5 official race categories in 2010, over 18.5 million, 97%, of whom are of Hispanic ethnicity. The population growth of Hispanic and Latino Americans, the terms are officially interchangeable, is a major demographic trend. The 50.5 million Americans of Hispanic descent are identified as sharing a distinct ethnicity by the Census Bureau. 64% of Hispanic Americans are of Mexican descent. Between 2000 and 2010, the country's Hispanic population increased 43% while the non-Hispanic population rose just 4.9%. Much of this growth is from immigration. In 2007, 12.6% of the U.S. population was foreign-born, with 54% of that figure born in Latin America. About 82% of Americans live in urban areas, including suburbs. About half of those reside in cities with populations over 50,000. The U.S. has numerous clusters of cities known as megaregions, the largest being the Great Lakes megalopolis followed by the Northeast megalopolis and Southern California. In 2008, 273 incorporated municipalities had populations over 100,000, 9 cities had more than 1 million residents, and 4 global cities had over 2 million, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Houston. There are 52 metropolitan areas with populations greater than 1 million. Of the 50 fastest growing metro areas, 47 are in the west or south. The metro areas of San Bernardino, Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, and Phoenix all grew by more than 1 million people between 2000 and 2008. Language. English, American English, is the de facto national language. Although there is no official language at the federal level, some laws, such as U.S. naturalization requirements, standardize English. In 2010, about 230 million, or 80% of the population aged 5 years and older, spoke only English at home. Spanish, spoken by 12% of the population at home, is the second most common language and the most widely taught second language. Some Americans advocate making English the country's official language, as it is in 32 states. Both Hawaiian and English are official languages in Hawaii, by state law. Alaska recognizes 20 native languages as well as English. While neither has an official language, New Mexico has laws providing for the use of both English and Spanish, as Louisiana does for English and French. Other states, such as California, mandate the publication of Spanish versions of certain government documents including court forms. Several insular territories grant official recognition to their native languages, along with English. Samoan and Chamorro are recognized by American Samoa and Guam, respectively. Carolinian and Chamorro are recognized by the Northern Mariana Islands. Spanish is an official language of Puerto Rico and is more widely spoken than English there. The most widely taught foreign languages in the United States, in terms of enrollment numbers from kindergarten through university undergraduate studies, are Spanish, around 7.2 million students, French, 1.5 million, and German, 500,000. Other commonly taught languages, with 100,000 to 250,000 learners, include Latin, Japanese, ASL, Italian, and Chinese. 18% of all Americans claim to speak at least one language in addition to English. Religion. The First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution guarantees the free exercise of religion and forbids Congress from passing laws respecting its establishment. Christianity is by far the most common religion practiced in the U.S., but other religions are followed, too. In a 2013 survey, 56% of Americans said that religion played a very important role in their lives, a far higher figure than that of any other wealthy nation. In a 2009 Gallup poll, 42% of Americans said that they attended church weekly or almost weekly. The figures ranged from a low of 23% in Vermont to a high of 63% in Mississippi. Experts, researchers and authors have referred to the United States as a Protestant nation or founded on Protestant principles, specifically emphasizing its Calvinist heritage. As with other Western countries, the U.S. is becoming less religious. Irreligion is growing rapidly among Americans under 30. Polls show that overall American confidence in organized religion has been declining since the mid to late 1980s. And that younger Americans in particular are becoming increasingly irreligious. According to a 2012 study, the Protestant share of the U.S. population had dropped to 48%, thus ending its status as religious category of the majority for the first time. Americans with no religion have 1.7 children compared to 2.2 among Christians. The unaffiliated are less likely to get married, with 37% marrying compared to 52% of Christians. According to a 2014 survey, 70.6% of adults identified themselves as Christian. Protestant denominations accounted for 46.5%, while Roman Catholicism, at 20.8%, was the largest individual denomination. The total reporting non-Christian religions in 2014 was 5.9%. Other religions include Judaism, 1.9%, Islam, 0.9%, Buddhism, 0.7%, Hinduism, 0.7%. The survey also reported that 22.8% of Americans described themselves as agnostic, atheist, or simply having no religion, up from 8.2% in 1990. There are also Unitarian Universalist, Baha'i, Sikh, Jain, Shinto, Confucian, Taoist, Druid, Native American, Wiccan, Humanist and Deist communities. Protestantism is the largest Christian religious grouping in the United States. Baptists collectively form the largest branch of Protestantism, and the Southern Baptist Convention is the largest individual Protestant denomination. About 26% of Americans identify as evangelical Protestants, while 15% are mainline and 7% belong to a traditionally black church. Roman Catholicism in the United States has its origin primarily in the Spanish and French colonization of the Americas and, in part, in the English Catholic Proprietary of Maryland. It later grew because of Irish, Italian, Polish, German and Hispanic immigration. Rhode Island has the highest percentage of Catholics with 40% of the total population. Lutheranism in the U.S. has its origin in immigration from Northern Europe and Germany. North and South Dakota are the only states in which a plurality of the population is Lutheran. Presbyterianism was introduced in North America by Scottish and Ulster Scots immigrants. Although it has spread across the United States, it is heavily concentrated on the East Coast. Dutch Reformed congregations were founded first in New Amsterdam, New York City, before spreading westward. Utah is the only state where Mormonism is the religion of the majority of the population. The Mormon Corridor also extends to parts of Idaho, Nevada and Wyoming. The Bible Belt is an informal term for a region in the southern United States in which socially conservative evangelical Protestantism is a significant part of the culture and Christian church attendance across the denominations is generally higher than the nation's average. By contrast, religion plays the least important role in New England and in the western United States. Family structure. As of 2007, 58% of Americans age 18 and over were married, 6% were widowed, 10% were divorced, and 25% had never been married. Women now work mostly outside the home and receive a majority of bachelor's degrees. The U.S. teenage pregnancy rate is 26.5 per 1,000 women. The rate has declined by 57% since 1991. In 2013, the highest teenage birth rate was in Alabama, and the lowest in Wyoming. Abortion is legal throughout the U.S., owing to Roe v. Wade, a 1973 landmark decision by the Supreme Court of the United States. While the abortion rate is falling, the abortion ratio of 241 per 1,000 live births and abortion rate of 15 per 1,000 women aged 15 to 44 remain higher than those of most Western nations. In 2013, the average age at first birth was 26 and 40.6% of births were to unmarried women. The total fertility rate, TFR, was estimated for 2013 at 1.86 births per woman. Adoption in the United States is common and relatively easy from a legal point of view, compared to other Western countries. In 2001, with over 127,000 adoptions, the U.S. accounted for nearly half of the total number of adoptions worldwide. Same-sex marriage is legal nationwide and it is legal for same-sex couples to adopt. Polygamy is illegal throughout the U.S.,